so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? For purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm Lori LeBay, the host and founder of Alzheimer's Speaks. Before we get to our show this afternoon, we've got two special guests waiting in the wings for us. I always just like to tell our audience about Alzheimer's Speaks because we're always getting new people that want to know who the heck we are and what we do. So bottom line, we are an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort all around the world. And we believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and having everyday conversations like you're going to hear today about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and help people continue to live with purpose with the disease and not become it. At our core, we also believe that collaboration is the only way we're going to win this battle against dementia. And I know it's working thanks to each and every one of you. You see, your likes, your clicks, your shares on our various platforms, from the radio to our dementia chats, to our blog, to our YouTube channel, to our website, have all made a big, big impact. Because of you, we were named the #1 influencer online regarding Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And we were most recently acknowledged as an architect of change for humanity by Maria Shriver. And again, that wouldn't have happened without you helping us push information out. Most of us in our sphere of influence have people who are dealing with dementia or may even be diagnosed or having symptoms of it, but haven't communicated that with others. There's still great fear wrapped in this disease and unknowing. And so we believe that the more information and content that people can have accessible to them, the more comfortable they're going to feel to reach out and grab that and get connected and get the resources they need. So we really appreciate your attention to sharing, and we encourage you to continue to do that, and we hope you do that with this show that we have here today. I also want to, before we get started, give a shout out to the Call Alert Center, which has a fantastic program that is really a backup system in case someone you love would wander. And it's something you can set up. It costs under $15 a year. And if your loved one were to wander or your client, you can connect via social media with a flyer in under 10 minutes. And they work cooperatively with the police departments. And it's just a fantastic way to take the stress off and just breathe a little easier, knowing if that would occur, because we never know if and when that's going to occur with our loved one, that you're set and ready to go. I also want to mention a cruise and conference that we're doing coming up November 11th through the 18th, which is going to be to the Eastern Caribbean. And it's going to be fun. We're going to relax, rejuvenate, and learn. And it's a 7-day cruise. And we are going to have 4 people living with dementia join us as speakers and educators on this during the conference, along with Cindy Lazinski, who heads up a grassroots effort in northern Colorado, and Becky Watson, who is a music therapist. So check us out. Just go to alzheimersspeaks.com. You'll see a big flyer on the front, and you can always go to our projects and initiatives page and learn more as well. So let's get started with this show, because it's going to be a fun one. Today we are really lucky to have with us Karen Love. And Karen, for those of you who don't know her, is the Executive Director of the Dementia Action Alliance, which is a nonprofit charitable organization that works to make dementia symptoms better understood and accommodated as a disability, which improves support for the individuals diagnosed and their families living with the disease. DAA is all about eradicating stigma and ensuring the full inclusion in all matters concerning people living with dementia. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, excited to talk with you and Robert here today. Let me go ahead and introduce Robert, and then we will get this show on the road. Robert Bowles is our second guest, who is a retired pharmacist, and he's also the past president of the Georgia Pharmacy Association. And in 2012, at the age of 64, Robert was diagnosed with dementia with Lewy bodies, and he has been a powerhouse ever since. I also want you to know that Robert's parents, both of them, had dementia as well, so there was a family history there. So welcome, Robert.
Oh, thank you, Laura. It's always good to be with you.
Well, I am really excited to have the two of you on to be able to talk about your Reimagine conference. And Robert, I'm going to throw you some questions first, if you don't mind. And the first one is, why is it important for people to know about the conference that you're doing?
Laura, we all know the medical model of dementia is broken. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, most often when a person is diagnosed, they're not given any resources, nor is their family given resources. DAA provides this opportunity for this to take place. And the conference, of course, will be in Atlanta June 25 through 27. And it brings together people in the care community, the persons living with dementia. There will be multiple people speaking that are living with dementia. It brings in both family caregivers, the professional caregivers, and the medical community. And through these sources, as they listen to those living with dementia, I think, Laura, we've seen that a missing link to take to the next level the culture of dementia and take it to a higher level. We have seen that the missing link was the person living with the disease. Mm-hmm. And now you've been a founder in that, of bringing out the voices of those living with dementia. And through this, those learned experiences that they receive from them, those experiences that they receive from people that are professionals that will be at the conference, that will give you insights into dementia and things like that. We have some powerful speakers that will be there. So it's sort of a one of a kind, I think, with what's being done with this.
I think it's really exciting and really cutting edge. Can you share with the audience who should go? I mean, is this for people with dementia? Is it for their care partners, family and friends? Is it for professionals? Or, is it open to everybody?
It's really open to everybody. I think there's 16 or 18 people living with dementia that will be part of the program, that will be speaking and sharing their thoughts about living with the disease. There will be people that are caregivers. There will be people who are medical community. The scientific advisory board will be there. Mm-hmm. All different aspects of the professional care providers, whether it be a memory care community or assisted living or long-term care. You can run the paradigm. Even hospice, because those needs are still there when it comes to how you interact and communicate with someone. So it takes all of those coming together, and I think Karen and Jackie have done a wonderful job of pulling this together, and I think it's going to be one of the most powerful conferences that someone could attend.
I would agree with you, and I love the attitude of breaking the rules and separating people in order to learn. That's been one of my paths from day one on this, because I don't think any of us can do this alone. So let's stop kidding ourselves. Nobody has control over this disease, and it takes all of our minds and our bodies and our souls to put us on the right path, to be compassionate and non-judging, and to create an atmosphere and a world that's accepting and focused on trying to find not only a cure, but support for those living with the disease, both diagnosed and in family and friends. This is such Absolutely. A huge, huge ripple effect. So Kudos.
And I say, Lori, that together we will change the culture of dementia.
Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing
it won't be
big,
us as an individual. It will be all of us working together.
Yeah, and I've seen a big shift just in the last 5 years. I think that shift can still use a big, tremendous shove, going forward. But it really, things have changed significantly, and I don't think people realize how much it has changed. Now, can you tell us, for the conference, what are people looking at in terms of cost with this? How much is the conference for both a person with dementia and their care partners?
Okay, I'm gonna mention one, and I'm gonna let we'll get Karen to jump in here on the last part of this part.
Okay.
I'm gonna mention about the ones that are the persons with dementia, because I don't know what stage we're at on the other one right now.
Okay.
But persons with dementia will be $295, and that's really a bargain for a conference. But these individuals and their care partner both would pay $295 each.
Okay.
But then let's ask Karen to talk about where we are in the structure of the registration and the cost.
The regular registration, because early bird closed out April 1st, early bird was $495, but now the regular conference price is $595, and you can have a one-day conference fee for $295, and we also have student rates available for $295.
Okay. And does it make it a difference if it's a person with dementia or their care partner, or if they're professional? Is there a difference in terms of pricing structure there?
Yes. The care partners and individuals living with dementia and students are all, we consider a special category, and we are giving them the conference rate at $295, and then everyone else would be at $595.
Gotcha. Okay.
But best to register before the actual conference, because a week before and on site it'll be $695.
Okay. And can you say again, Karen, the dates for the conference? Because I think people have to realize that this isn't just a one-day thing. Right.
The conference will start late the afternoon of Sunday, June 25th, with a wonderful opening reception, a nice way to get to meet and greet people. We're giving out a technology award this year, so all that will be Sunday late afternoon, and then 2 full days of the conference, June 26th and 27th, which are a Monday and a Tuesday.
Okay. So really you're getting 2.5 days there. And then somebody would say that does not include your hotel, though. That's just conference cost itself, just to be clear, correct?
Correct. Conference cost, and then lunches will be included, receptions, snacks. The conference is chock full. Besides the full program itself, the conference includes a technology showcase, which will be one of the first times that a whole grouping of technology innovators who have special products that support individuals living with dementia and their care partners. So you'll be able to go through the technology showcase. It'll be interactive and get to use the items and talk with the team, the development team. So that'll be wonderful. We're also going to be showing the internationally traveling Dementia Creative Arts exhibition, which are all kinds of different artworks, including sculpture and paintings and watercolors and quilting and other things, other artistic things. So we will have that exhibition, which has been traveling now around the world. I think it was last in South Africa. We'll have it in Atlanta. It originated in England, so that's going to be exciting. And we're going to, during the conference, have a simulcast, a live televised simulcast between the BBC and PBS with some of the artists, because the creative arts are such a wonderful way of being able to express yourself and continue to find ways in daily life that bring you interest and meaning. We're going to have a book author meet and greet. So those are just some of the other things that are included in part of the registration.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Karen. Robert, can you talk about maybe some of the discussion points that are going to be addressed at the conference, which will be including people with dementia?
Yes. Laura, of course, you hit one of the prime things in your opening comments, and that was the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, my neurologist collaborated with me and Dementia Spotlight Foundation, that I serve as their Executive Program Director, to host focus groups. We did 5 focus groups. The results of the focus group was not what I thought they would be. It was actually stigma. Mm-hmm. That was the number one concern for all 5 groups, was stigma. And as I thought about it, I said, it makes sense. Stigma produces fear. It keeps a person from going to the doctor mm-hmm. to be evaluated. So that fear goes beyond that segment, and it goes into decreasing the ability to accept the diagnosis and what the potential that lies ahead. It decreases the ability to be social. They withdraw because they don't want anyone to know it. Then it decreases the ability to have a positive attitude. We all know that a positive attitude is very important when in any situation of life. And then we come to purpose. All of us need purpose to live. Mm-hmm. And those 3 things are damaged in that process. So that stigma is a very strong part of this. But as you come out of that, you find there's life. And that's one thing DAA likes to focus on, is living. And they utilize people that are living the disease and are helping others. And it's a magnet that people are drawn to. So it's a lot of fun because you see people with different types of dementia. The entire advisory council for Dementia Action Alliance is based on that individual living with dementia and how can we improve that? Because when we improve and meet the needs of the person living with dementia, then when we find out those needs, you can begin to put in place better care models.
Mm-hmm. Very true, very true. And I think that's what, really makes a huge, huge difference in terms of the Dementia Action Alliance organization as a whole. Can you tell us, I've heard something about lighting up Atlanta. What the heck does that mean? What do you got planned?
Well, Atlanta is a place to go. It has a lot of traffic. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people coming into Atlanta. They host a lot of conferences in Atlanta. This one is going to be an improv. Dementia Spotlight Foundation is hosting this part, and this thing will be an event about a half a mile. It'll be at a theater about a half a mile from the hotel. It will be on Monday night. Tickets will be available very soon, in the next week probably. And this will give people opportunity to go that night and enjoy fun. It will be taking and lighting up Atlanta with love, laughter, and lighting up Atlanta. So it's going to be a great evening to just get back and decompress and enjoy being with people and just enjoy the time and laugh.
Oh, that's great. So lighting up Atlanta sounds like it's a time to fill the soul and, just to build on that camaraderie, because you're going to have just such a significant amount of people with passion and purpose in one location. I would imagine it's going to be pretty energizing, and it's the conversations I think will be incredible for a lifetime that you're going to see come out of this conference. So
Well, Lori, one thing that happens too is that these relationships you build in these situations, they last for a lifetime. I mean, even the time that you took the time to drive down to Mayo in Minnesota to see me and meet me, I still hang on to that moment of getting my hug from you. I mean, it's just special when these people come into your life.
Yep. I agree. I think the social media connections that already exist when you have opportunities like you're having for your conference, or what we're doing with our cruise, it just, and what Rick Phelps did, when he had his memory people in the first kind of conference of its kind, which was very informal, really more of a gathering, it just solidifies the work that is being done and how it is being done and who's involved, and just makes just kind of sets the cement to those relationships. So kudos very much for your work there. Karen, I wanted to ask you a few questions as well. The conference sessions look super interesting and really varied. How are you able to pick your topics and your presenters?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first of all, we have partnered with colleagues in Canada because they're doing amazing things up there as well. Not that there aren't in other parts of the world, but other further away places make it harder geographically. But we've partnered with folks up in Canada and put together a sterling conference planning committee. We have 4 people from Canada, including 2 individuals living with dementia, and then 9 people in the U.S., including 3 people who are living with dementia. And I think that's a critical component to informing and shaping the conference program, was that it came from people living with dementia, their care partners, and other people in the field. So it was, a real knowledgeable group of people, and we spent almost a year working on this and decided that we would have 6 major topic areas, so that during the 4 different concurrent session times, if people wanted to just stick with one main topic, they could, and then the plenary sessions, or if they wanted to change around. So we've really selected as a team what those topics were, the most important, and they are changing the status quo. So what is sort of currently happening that needs to be changed, or would be more helpful if there were changes? The creative and expressive arts, what does that do for people who are living with dementia? Care partnering is another of the topics, optimizing well-being. And then from the community level, both at state, local, maybe church or temple, neighborhood communities, whatever the community level, but there are a lot of exciting things going on. And then lastly, technology. So it was a collaborative effort, and then the group also decided how they wanted to open and close the conference, which I'm really excited about. And that was with a panel of 5 individuals living with different forms of dementia. We've got as the moderator Al Power. And for anyone who doesn't know Al Power, you're in for a treat. He is an internationally known geriatrician. He is wonderful. He's written 2 books that are 2 of the best I've seen on the topic of living with dementia, and a great sense of humor. He's going to be the moderator. So right from the get-go, the audience, which will be capped at no more than 500, will have a chance to hear directly from people living with dementia symptoms on a host of topics. And as Robert noted, stigma-related items are really significant. They are hurdles and provide all kinds of barriers and challenges. So that will be a major topic item. But even things as simple as, what's different about the dementias. Like, for example, we had a program last year in which a number of people living with dementia spoke, and Robert Bowles was one of those, and he started talking about with his Lewy body dementia, for example, can feel like ping pong balls going off in his brain, and you could just hear the other people in the audience kind of this intake of breath because nobody had put it in those terms before. And then there was another gentleman there who had Lewy body, and he got all excited. He goes, oh, that's exactly what it's like. And it just, starts opening up avenues of discussion that we don't typically hear, at the conference level. These conferences tend to be very didactic, very clinical, and really to help people living with dementia and their care partners best, we really need to get much closer to the grassroots level and learn and talk and have these collective discussions.
I so agree with that. I think that is wonderful to use their language, and Al is just he's a card, and he will make that a really fun conversation. And because I think sometimes people get nervous of right or wrong, and how am I doing, or should I ask my question or not, and he'll just put everybody right at home as a facilitator of that conversation, along with your panel of experts living with the disease. They all just have such a great, unique skill in terms of being able to just talk, I think, authentically and take the scary out of things. And that's a huge thing to be able to give people that gift of, it's okay. We're in this together, type feeling. So that's really, really exciting.
Exactly. You used a word that I thought was really powerful when you were describing your cruise, which I think is going to be another wonderful opportunity, because you're mixing the socialization, the opportunity to explore and do things together, as well as learning. But you use the term for your presenters that are living with dementias, educators, and who better to educate than individuals who are living the experience. So I really thought that was powerful.
Yeah, I even on Dementia Chats, I refer to the panel of experts living with dementia as our experts, the true experts, because they know, they live with it. We're all guessing, we're making assumptions, and it's so much easier just to ask a question and get it from the horse's mouth, knowing that everybody who's living with it, it's going to be a little bit different, but their insights are so powerful. And I think that's what I'm so excited about for your conference, is for people to be able to not only see that in action, but I think even more importantly, feel it in action. Because I'm a true believer that things don't change until people feel that emotional tie to make a difference. And I think that's what makes people come out of their shells and stand up and take a stand and do whatever they can in their utilizing their own skills and resources to make change. And, working together and sharing how they're doing it and what they're doing versus trying to tie it up in a closet and, lock it down so nobody knows. That's a real limiting way of making change and saying, I'm the only one who knows how to do this. And when you pull such a large collaboration together like you've done with this conference, you're opening the doors and kind of letting the horses out of the barn, going, there's nothing to be afraid of. Just join the run, and if you got to walk or be pushed, that's cool too. Here's the path, and
right.
And if you take a side road, that's okay. We'll still catch up with you, because that's how we make change. That's how we find out what works and what doesn't work. Is by sharing platforms instead of closing down or trying to close one another down. So I think that's really very, 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 very exciting. Now, I do want you to talk, Karen, about the technology showcase. You mentioned it a little bit. Can you mention any vendors at this time and what types of products people could expect to be able to talk about and touch and see and feel while they're there?
Sure. Absolutely. Well, and for example, when you opened the show, you were talking about the technology to identify and find people. I mean, that has become, people used to have to wear these big, bulky bracelets that were intrusive, and that technology has greatly increased. So there are all kinds of things, and so some of the people that will be in the or companies that will be in the technology showcase are It's Never Too Late, and they are coming up on 20 years. And in fact, the founder, Jack York, is going to win the Reimagine Life with Dementia 2017 Technology Award because they have been pioneering ways using different technology-based, computerized programs to engage individuals living with dementia in fun and non-childish ways. So, for example, I can remember about 10 years ago, you could go up to the standing screen, or, if you wanted to, you could sit down, but with your hand on the touch screen, I'm a puzzle person. I love puzzles. And just move the pieces around and, put a puzzle together, or really advanced stages of karaoke, which are always fun. So anyhow, they're going to be there. The Java Music Club, we know how important and powerful music can be, raising our spirits and, connecting us to things that are meaningful. We have a company that is doing some wonderful things with using technology for storytelling, so that, for example, when individuals maybe move into a long-term care community, that their personhood and who they are and their history and background, that all that can come with them. It's a way of uploading video clips and pictures and information in a really smart format. That's a former Time magazine correspondent that is a co-founder of that company. We've got companies that are doing really smart apps, apps to help, serve as reminders and organizers, apps that, are just engaging, that are easy to pick up a phone or an iPad or, some kind of tablet device. There are ways of tracking health information, technology companies that will be there for that. So I think what's really going to be unusual is that usually when you have this kind of thing, the vendors or companies are only there for a certain amount of time. It's crowded, it's loud, people are kind of jostling and pushing about. And we have set this up so that there are lots of times, especially if you have dementia. People like Robert and others were very mindful in saying, we need quiet times to go through that. We need to be able to just sit down and, not have it be overwhelming. We have from the Georgia Institute of Technology their whole life tools. They have a huge program of things that help for accommodation and support. That will be there. So, yeah, it'll be very exciting and certainly a lot of fun.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Now, the other thing you had mentioned was the International Dementia Creative Arts Exhibit. And I know you said that was traveling around. How did you hear about them? Or was that just something that you've because I know of people doing a little here and a little there, but I hadn't, and maybe I just wasn't aware of this particular name, but just interested in how you heard about them and how you were able to kind of curate them to come, because I know moving any type of exhibit is a lot of work.
And I'm learning it. Yes, indeed, it is. It's quite a logistical challenge, but we're up for it. And so we have at the Dementia Action Alliance an Arts and Dementia work group that is an amazing collaboration of individuals from book authors to art therapist, to we have a neurologist who's understood the value of creative expressive arts, individuals living with and doing things. It's this wonderful potpourri of people. And one of them had heard about this and made an email introduction to me about a year and a half ago to David Reed, who is a professor at the University of Sheffield in England. And I was thinking, well, he must be an arts professor. And we got together on Zoom one day, and it turns out, lo and behold, he's a nursing professor. And so my first question was, how curious, how is it that you started this exhibition in 2009? And he laughed and he said, well, because I realized one of the most important things for the individuals that I knew who were living with dementia were ways that they could continue to do things that were interesting and meaningful and productive to them. And we found that all kinds of expressive and creative arts, that there's such a tremendous amount of variety, that those things were very wonderful. And so the artwork, I've seen pictures. I haven't seen the originals. We'll get those the first part of June. They'll be shipped over. And so we now have other artists here in the United States. So this traveling art exhibit will include a lot of artwork from here in the United States. And two of the artists, well, we'll probably have 4 or 5 at the conference, but two in particular are going to be telling their stories on this BBC PBS simulcast. And do we have a minute? I'd love to just quickly, kind of tell you how art impacted their lives if we have time.
Oh, that'd be great. Please do.
Okay. So neither would mind me sharing their stories. They've said it's okay to tell publicly. So one is a former guy from the Air Force and a big burly guy, and his wife is a sewer. She loves, not professionally, but just enjoys doing things at home. And he now is been living for the last 4 years with a rare form of dementia called posterior cortical atrophy. And he started quilting. And it turns out he's got a real gift for it. He's very creative. The patterns, I've seen all kinds of pictures of what he's making are interesting. And now, 4 years in, he is his eyesight is very limited because this type of dementia impacts the vision as well. And he has taught himself to continue to quilt by feel. So he can tell where the fabric hits his fingers, where a 1/4-inch hemline hits. And he was talking about when he was in the Air Force, they always put him through battery of aptitude and other kinds of tests, and he was always very analytically brain dominant. That that was what always came out very. He scored strongly in. Well, he asked his neurologist not too long ago, after he's been doing all this quilting and crocheting for the last 4 years, and so he was retested, and now he's tested the opposite side of the brain, very creative brain dominant. Wow. And so that's really a powerful example of how neuroplasticity, the neurogenesis, that using your brain in different ways, really can, help. And then one of the other ladies is from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and she had been a psychotherapist and ended up having to leave work. And a friend said, go take some art classes or something. Find something that, is meaningful. And she took a pottery class, and turns out that she's really got some aptitude and talent for it. And she was finding that with her dementia, she was having a great deal of trouble connecting words and, being able to be articulate. And when she was first in the pottery class with the other individuals, she was very quiet. And as people became more social and drew her into things, she became more talkative. She felt wonderful with these different pieces. And she said basically the pottery gave her voice back.
Oh, how cool
Those
is that?
are very powerful examples of, and then we've got lots more, but we thought, by sharing this kind of thing, it's inspirational, and there's, information. It doesn't mean we'll all go out and do good pottery, but, maybe there's something that we can do that would make us, inspired.
Well, and I think that goes, I think that's just really an expansive moment, because what tapping into those creative juices can do for somebody with dementia, the same goes for somebody who's caring for someone, and it gets us to think about new ways. It gets us to think about, getting rid of the limitations that we've all set on ourselves, and utilizing what we're comfortable with, what brings us joy, what brings us peace. And to me, I think that's kind of what art does. It can also bring excitement and stuff, but it's just that piece of I can do this, and there's not a right or a wrong, and that's a big negative script that everybody in the world has kind of been taught, that there is a right or a wrong way to approach things. And I think with the shifting of the dementia care culture is really about saying, get out of the box and come in the playground. There's lots of ways to approach this, and we've lost our creativity, and it's slowed us down in terms of making progress. And so I think that art example is just a beautiful one for people to be able to look at in a really broad fashion in terms of how can they partake. I look at what I've seen in the people I've interviewed just on the show and met at conferences about all the unique things they're doing. If it's music, if it's art, if it's crocheting, if it's Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts doing different projects, everybody at different levels. But if they want to participate, they should be allowed to, and they should be embraced.
Creativity manifests itself in many ways. And Robert, if I can kind of call you out, so Robert's creativity, or one of the venues of his creativity, is seeing how people, the different things that they can do, and then matching them and putting them together. Mm-hmm. He is his wife told me once that he can make friends with a telephone pole. And I didn't quite understand at the time when she said that, but now that I've known him, yes, Robert has never met anyone who wasn't a friend. And, he can see the goodness and, specialness in everyone, and put people together that ordinarily wouldn't. So, Robert, I hope you don't mind me telling the world about that, but it's a talent.
It really is. Not everybody can do that. And when you, because I've seen that in play with Robert as well, you do it so gracefully and so graciously that it's so fluid. People don't even know what's happening to them, And they might have had. Oh, go ahead.
One thing I say is that for us to help people, and I think it's in other diseases too, but my focus now is on dementia. We have to go into their world, and I always try to look at them dead in the eye, hold their hand, put my hand on their shoulder, and just intently listen to them. And I think when we do that, it calms their spirit, and they begin to open up, and they begin to share. Mm-hmm. And then we learn, and I always get more out of it than I could ever give anyone.
Yeah, that's very true. And again, that's, expanded past just not the person with dementia, but those caring for them as well. Everybody's got a story, and we all need to learn to not just listen better, but really hear what is being said and read their body language in terms of what is being said. To help pull.
I try to feel, Lori, mm-hmm. what they're feeling, mm-hmm. Because I think that helps progress the conversation and know where to go.
Yep, definitely. Well, wonderful. Karen, I had one other question I wanted to ask you, and that was, you had mentioned that there was going to be an author's meet and greet event. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So often we read a book or an author may have a number of books and just think, wow, this person must be so special because I so relate or connected to so many things they say, but rarely do you get a chance to actually, physically meet the author. And so we thought that would be, a really great thing to include as part of the conference, or some of these wonderful authors that have written books. I mentioned Al Power. He has two terrific books, Dementia Beyond Drugs and Dementia Beyond Disease. And he will be there, and so people can talk and interact with him. Also, for anyone who knows the Best Friends series with David Troxell and Virginia Bell, David will be there, so you can talk. And then we have Nancy Kreisman. She's written, I think, about 4 caregiving books. They're excellent. Daniel Potts is a neurologist from Alabama, and his father had Alzheimer's disease, and Daniel and his wife found that they best connected with him through the arts. His father wasn't necessarily a watercolorist, but that was a way that they continued to engage that and writing poetry, and they ended up publishing some books together that are really wonderful. Meryl Comer, Slow Dancing with a Stranger. Her husband was a scientist from the National Institutes on Health, and it's, their journey with his dementia, and among a number of other authors. So I think that's going to be unusual and another fun event. So I think that's probably the common word we keep coming back to is, a fun way of learning and connecting, with others. And it sounds an awful lot like your radio program, Lori.
Yeah, well, when you do what you love, it is fun, and I think that's the power of pulling people together that, want to share, want to learn, and are open-minded in terms of pushing the cause forward. It's that passion that makes the difference there. Lastly, in wrapping up, I wanted to just see, Robert, was there anything else that you wanted to add to this conversation?
One thing, Lori, I think there was one thing that I don't remember being mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been, but we will have a quiet room for those living with dementia, to where if the overstimulation takes place, they will have a place to go. And the name of it is the Richard Taylor Quiet Room.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to tell people a little bit about Richard and why that name was picked?
Richard Taylor I consider him a pioneer in helping change the culture of dementia. He had a huge impact on many lives. He lived in Texas. I don't remember, Lori, what his profession was. It was do you remember, Lori?
I want to say
he was a university professor of psychology.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he had a wonderful way of connecting with people, and he went into their lives, and he was internationally respected. And he died, I guess, a couple of years ago. I think he had some other health issues in the dementia and all. But he was just a wonderful person that he was a legend, and he left a stamp on what's being done today.
Yeah. And he was the sidekick with Al Powers, too, a lot. They did a lot of stuff together. And so, if people listening talk with Al and want to learn more about Richard, I'm sure Al will share some tidbits of that. Richard was very well loved. In fact, when he passed away, we did I want to say it was a 2-hour show. People called in from all over the world to pay their respects to him and kind of leave a legacy to his family for what he had done to change the landscape of our dementia care culture. So that's really neat that you guys are honoring Richard in that way. And for those that don't understand why a quiet room is needed, Robert, can you just explain? Because there's still, I think, probably even family members that don't quite get to the importance of having that kind of space available.
I think I can probably best explain it through an example.
Okay.
Thanksgiving, we had, I think, 12 family members here. The children were behaving well. You would think it would be the other way around, but all the adults had their little clusters and were talking, and they had to talk louder to be able to hear because of the way the others were talking. So all of a sudden I found I have earplugs that decrease the decibels, but my brain never went to putting them in. I went out on the sun porch, couldn't get away from it. Went in my office, could not get away from it. My brain did not tell me I needed to go outside. I had gotten so wrapped into it. Mm-hmm. That was overstimulation. And that overstimulation leads to what I call a brain that is sizzling. It's sitting there just like electrical current running, just popping you. And it actually took me a day and a half to get over it.
Wow. Yep. Very, very important stuff. And it shows the attention to detail that you've put in to this conference, which those are the make and break points of any successful gathering. I don't care if it's in your home with a family and friends, or if it's a huge conference like this. It's the attention to detail and knowing your audience that makes people feel comfortable and want to come back next year. Karen, do you see yourselves doing this again next year?
Well, what we've done with our Canadian counterparts is the Reimagine Life with Dementia is going to be an annual conference, but we will have it back and forth. So in even number years, 2018 and on, it will be in Canada, and I think they're talking about next June having it on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. We'll know probably in a month whether or not that's confirmed as the site. And then 2019 and subsequent odd number years, having it back in the United States. And what that does is it expands sort of our thinking. They're doing amazing things in Canada, and, just by virtue of, having somewhat of a little bit different culture, it's another way of looking at things. And I'll give you a really quick example that a group of individuals in Ontario living with dementia formed what they call the Ontario Dementia Working Group, ODAG, and they have become very vocal spokespeople for themselves and their community of others living with dementia, and to the point where Parliament invited them to come and speak to them, about mm-hmm. their needs and, perspectives. And a couple of them said, I don't travel anymore. And, we like to use this online media platform called Zoom. And Parliament said, okay, no problem whatsoever. And so some of them were there in person and others were brought in via Zoom, which is, really, very forward thinking. We have tried to do that here in the U.S. And haven't quite got the same open mindset here yet. But you never know. You never know. You get to a conference and you hear things like this, and maybe mm-hmm. somebody will go back and say, you know what, we need to change and be able to do this via Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That would be absolutely lovely. And, it's just kind of funny, too, when I think of, everybody used to refer to, and I think for the most part still does, that, the UK is so far ahead of us. And, you're talking about, Canada being, ahead of us and collaborating with them. And it's like, it just feels like it's creeping closer, that sooner or later we're going to get it here, in
Let's
the
pray
U.S.
for sooner, okay?
Yep, exactly. Well, Robert and Karen, this has just been a really fun and exhilarating conversation. And I appreciate the efforts that you guys and DAA have gone to bring to the world this conference of reimagining life with dementia. Now, Karen, the best way for people to get a hold of you is to go to daanow.org, and there's information about the conference plus so many other resources there as well. That's DAA now, NOW.org, or you can always email them at info at DAAnow.org as well. So again, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. We really appreciate it and wish you great success with your conference.
Well, thank you for having us. This has been delightful, and wish you all the best with your cruise. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think both will be impactful and fun. So thank you again. And again, thank you, Robert, for spending time with us.
Thank you, Lori. And I'm trying to work out to go on the cruise.
Okay, well, we'd love to have you.
Awesome.
In wrapping,
I've been missing you.
Yeah, I know it's been a while. We've both been so dang busy, so it would be a lot of fun to have you join us. In wrapping up here, I just want to mention to people, in case they don't know, Trish Vanderberg with the Us Against Alzheimer's, who was the co-founder and vice chair, has passed away. And so, just, if you're religious or not, if you can say a prayer or send some positive thoughts to their family and to the Us Against Alzheimer's organization, I know it would be greatly appreciated. It was very sudden death, and Trish was just full of tenacity and charm and kind of a mover and shaker in the world of dementia. And so please remember them in your thoughts and prayers. I also wanted to give a shout out to Rachel Perrin, who's the culinary director for Kowalski's Market here in the Twin Cities. And she does a show called What's for Dinner Tonight here on Alive and Social. It usually is only a 10 to 15 minute podcast, but it's perfect if you're hungry and you don't know what the heck you're going to eat for dinner. Or if there's a holiday, like we just had Easter around the corner and you're trying to figure out your seasonal menus, you can go to Kowalskis.com. That's KOWALSKIS.com and get information. As we had talked earlier, we would love to invite all of you on our dementia-friendly conference and cruise, November 11th through the 18th to the Caribbean with Holland America. You can find information just by going to alzheimersspeaks.com. There's a flyer, and it'll link you to the page. You'll be able to print out our conference criteria, what ports we're going to be at, and you can schedule your cruise or book it through Kathy Schoaf, who is in charge of our group there. You will also be seeing, if you attend, Harry Urban, Michael Ellenbogen, Lori Shearer, and Mary Reed, all living with dementia, along with Cindy Lazinski, who heads up a grassroots dementia-friendly effort in North Colorado, and Becky Watson, who is a music therapist. So it should be a lot of fun. Always remember that, too, Alzheimer's Speaks Radio, we've been doing this for like 6 years now. All of our shows are archived, so you can go back and listen. Some of our recent ones, we talked with an author, Judy Cornish, who has a new method for dementia called the Dawn Method. It's Dementia and Alzheimer's Wellbeing Network. We also talked with Mindy Bolton, who has a method called Shay's Way. And, the list just kind of goes on and on. We also do what's called Dementia Chats, which is a video interview where I interview experts living with dementia. And our last conversation had to do with how to communicate with people with dementia, how they want us to communicate with them, and ideas that they have. You can also find out about upcoming previews of His Neighbor Phil by visiting alzheimersspeaks.com. And we had on the blog kind of a fun thing for Easter. It was, they call them excellent emojis, and they're egg emojis for feelings. And I just thought it was really fun to post that and have you post back, what kind of emotions did you have after meeting with your family. In wrapping up, have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you all soon. And don't forget about signing up for the Reimagine Conference with Dementia Action Alliance. Thanks so much.
Hi, this is Suzanne Newman, host of the Answers for Elders podcast and radio show. We are the North Star that guides you through the complicated journey of senior care with trusted experts in money, law, living solutions, and more. So join us on this station, your favorite podcast channel, or just go to answersforelders.com. Meet the wayshowers who will help your journey go a lot easier.